Hello friends, today's story is going to be very unique, suspenseful, and full of action, in which we are going to see a jumper who reaches from one place to another in the blink of an eye. But how does he become the owner of superpowers from an ordinary person? Why did his mother leave him? Who wants to kill this jumper by snatching his powers? The story starts with our main character David, who was sitting on the tallest statue in Egypt, where it was almost impossible for a common man to reach. Suddenly David disappears from here. But how? To know this, we have to go back 8 years when David was a student. In the same school there was a girl named Millie who was a very good friend of David. David liked her, but could never express. One day David found a dancing crystal ball for Millie. Millie likes the gift very much, and while she is looking at it, a student named Mark comes and snatches the ball from Millie, and David asks her to return the ball, but he throws it in the frozen river. David had brought this gift very lovingly for Millie, so he goes to the frozen river to bring it back, and as soon as he picks up the ball, the ice breaks, and David falls into the river. David found it sinking inside. She tries hard to save him, but David goes into the depth of the water, and then something magical happens, and David comes straight from the river into a library. David himself was surprised. The people are also surprised to see David like this. After some time, David goes to his home where his father was there, because when David was 5 years old, his mother had left both of them. And seeing David, his father come to ask where he was all day long. Due to fear, David again teleports and disappears from here. David's father, William, is also shocked after not finding his son in the room. Meanwhile, David keeps the crystal ball outside Millie's house. When she sees this ball, she does not understand how it came here because David had drowned with this ball. Now David had come to know about his powers, and from the next day, he transformed from a normal boy to a jumper. David takes a hotel room for his own safety and then teleports from one place to another throughout the day. The jumpers can only go to places that they have seen. David plans to take advantage of his powers to rob the bank in his own town. He reaches there to understand the security of the locker. After doing all the investigation, the next day, he takes some tools and teleports directly from his hotel room to the bank locker, where there was a lot of money. David's bag looked very small. Then he comes to the hotel room with a lot of money, and when the bank opens the next day, the bank officers are surprised. They do not understand how the money went missing from the closed locker. Meanwhile, we see the officer named Roland, who after seeing this scene of the locker, understands that the work is not of a thief, but of a jumper, because Roland himself was a Paladin. Actually, Paladins are the people who eliminate jumpers. After this, we see David, who is enjoying his life with the stolen money. David had kept pictures of different places in his room so that he could teleport there. David now used his powers for small tasks. From escaping from stairs to picking up the remote, David was using teleportation. David had collected every currency of the world in one room, so that if he went to any country, he would not face any problem there. After becoming a jumper, David's life was filled with luxury and comfort. No one had known the secret of his becoming a jumper, but his carelessness was going to end soon. One day, a person named Griffin sees him. With the help of teleportation, he came to a bar where a girl gets quite impressed after seeing David, and both of them form a very good bonding. After this, David comes to the room with this girl, and both enjoy some romantic moment. Next morning, without informing the girl, David goes to Sea Beach with the help of his power and enjoys water activities openly, and then teleports to Egypt where he has breakfast comfortably. In this way, David travels from one place to another. In the next scene, we see the Paladins, who have made a jumper their prey, and now they have captured him and tortured him a lot. Paladins had a shockwave controlling device that sent magnetic pulses through its wires. This was such a dangerous device that is used to prevent jumpers from using their powers. Then Roland takes out a dangerous knife and takes the life of this jumper, because the Paladins believed that the jumpers were dangerous to the world, and they could take advantage of their status and become a danger to the common humans. Meanwhile, Roland also gets to know about a jumper named David, and without wasting time, Roland goes straight to David's hotel and sees that David has put photos of many places of the world in his room. When David sees Roland in his room, he gets a little nervous, but Roland says that I am neither a policeman nor have I come here for investigation. On this, David says that if you are not a policeman, then why have you come here? After this, Roland takes out the same electric device and attacks David and gives him a very dangerous shock, due to which David falls on the ground. Due to the shockwave, David's power starts decreasing and he cannot reach any location. Roland keeps attacking David continuously, due to which David is unable to control himself. But in the meantime, he gets a chance to teleport to another room of its own, and he escapes from Roland. Before Ronald arrives in that room, he takes lots of money and passport and teleports to another place. Roland was not not going to leave David under any circumstances, so he calls his intelligence agencies and informs them about David, and he deploys his agents at all the places where photos of the locations were posted so that David can be captured as soon as possible. Meanwhile, David also understands very well that his photos are in Roland's possession, and if he goes to any of those locations, Roland's agents will easily catch him. That is why now he started thinking about a safe place, and then he pays attention to his dad's house. So David goes there, but hides from his dad and stays in his room. His dad had come to know that David is in this house, so he asks from behind the door, "Are you inside?" David does not give any answer. Actually, David had come to his house after 8 years, so he could not understand how to talk to him. He remains calm, and before leaving from here, he just tells his dad that, "Papa, you are not crazy," which confirms to his dad that David came home. After this, David goes to meet Millie at her house. Then Millie's mom sees David alive after so many years. She happily hugs him and also tells him that Millie works in a bar. If you want to meet her, then go to the bar. After knowing that David goes to the bar, where Millie recognizes David on sight, and here Mark also sees David. Mark is the same person who threw the crystal ball in the river. He says to Mark that, "I am not the old David, and you have some misunderstanding, so it is better that you stay away from me and my girlfriend Millie." But this time, also Mark does not leave any chance to harass both of them. He starts teasing to Millie, then David gets very angry and starts beating him. During the fight, David teleports Mark into the same locker, then he comes back to Millie and spends a lot of time with her. Since childhood, Millie wanted to visit many countries like France, Rome, India. That's why David decided to fulfill her dream. Millie asks David about his work. However, David's work was to rob banks. So David says that, "I am a banker and I help in getting the money from place to place." Millie is quite impressed by this, and then their journey starts from Los Angeles, from where they both go to Rome. Mark is found by Hyder Police Department. Mark tells the police here that, "I am here in the locker with the help of teleportation. One of my friend teleports me here." But then Roland comes here, who understood teleportation very well, so he asks everything to Mark and comes to know everything about both David and Millie. In the next scene, David and Millie gets very close to each other and become intimate. The trip and relationship between the two goes very well. After this, David and Millie go to Colosseum, a special place in Rome which was built by the kings in ancient times. It was a maze-type place which was full of entertainment, but now this place was closed. And when David and Millie come to know about this, they both get sad. And here David again uses his powers and goes through the back door and opens the door to bring Millie inside. While the security outside doesn't know anything about these two, there were many antiques inside this monument, which Millie is very happy to see it. Then she sees a restricted gate, which was strictly prohibited from entering. But David, for Millie's pleasure, starts going from outside. Then he meets a boy named Griffin, who tells David that, "Like you, I too have come here with the help of teleportation." Griffin was also a jumper. Griffin tells David that, "You are a stupid jumper. That is why you have brought your girlfriend here with you." Meanwhile, we come to know that the Paladins had also come here to capture these two. Even before the Paladins got hold of them, both of them are teleported. They shift from one place to another, and finally Griffin reaches his secret location. Here, whenever someone makes his first jump on the ground, there is a shining crystal wall behind him, touching which he returns to the same place on the jump. And by doing the same, David also comes to Griffin's location. Seeing David, Griffin says that you should not have come here, because if the Paladins also come here following you, then this secret place of mine won't be safe. Anyway, instead of hiding here, you should save your girlfriend, who is still in the Colosseum in Rome. David quickly reaches there without wasting any time and tells Millie to quickly get out of here. Millie doesn't understand why David is so nervous, so she asks him the reason. But then the police see both of them coming out of the Colosseum and ask, "How did you come out from inside when the door was closed?" After this, David's investigation is done by taking him to the police station. And after some time, a lady named Mary comes here, who was actually David's mother. To save her son, Mary tells him that Roland is going to catch you, so you get out of here. He run away. With the help of Mary, David goes to his hotel from here and then leaves for the airport with Millie. David tells Millie that, "I have to go for some work, and you take care of yourself." Millie had some suspicious on David, so she asks David that Why are you running away from the police? How do you reach from one place to another? And what is in your bag at this time? After hearing all these questions, David also tells Millie the whole truth that I am a jumper and my job is to rob banks, and there is a lot of money in my bag. After knowing all this, Millie becomes very sad and buys her own ticket and leaves from here. After this, David goes to Griffin and asks, why are these people arresting us? Griffin tells they are our enemy. They also killed my entire family so that they could reach me, and they kill the relatives of every jumper. So now I will take revenge for my family from the Paladins. This was the reason that whenever a Paladin came to capture the Griffin, so instead of running away from him, Griffin would have killed him. Meanwhile, a question comes in David's mind, that how did the Paladins follow him and reach Rome, because he had not even put the photo of Rome on the wall. And this is where David understands. Whose job is this? And it goes straight to Mark, because Mark was the only one who knew that Millie had to go to Rome, and David had taken her to Rome. So David goes to Mark and asks him what else he has told the Paladins. Mark says that I have told them everything about you and Millie, and they know that you have powers. David gets more angry after hearing this, but he leaves Mark there and quickly goes to Griffin and says that my girlfriend is in problem. The Paladins can harm her anytime, but Griffin had nothing to do with it, so he asks David to leave his secret place as soon as possible. Griffin had made his secret place under a tomb in the middle of the desert, where it was impossible for the Paladins to reach. But due to David's frequent visits here, now Griffin teleports himself in China. But after the jump, a small crystal ball was formed, touching which David also gets carried away while following Griffin. Seeing David behind him again, Griffin now decides that now we will run together because it is very difficult to separate. These two pick up a car from the showroom, teleport it, and run from one place to another. But David still cares about Millie, and David decides that he will not put Millie at risk to save his life. So David reaches Millie's house without delaying. Millie is still angry with David because he kept the truth from Millie. While both of them are talking, Paladins come near Millie's house. Paladins also had a shockwave machine in which the Paladins captured David, and due to this device, his condition starts getting very bad. But somehow, David reaches Griffin's secret place. Griffin knew that one day the Paladins will come to this secret place, so he kills many Paladins with the help of a flame device. But Roland very cleverly escapes from Griffin's trick, and Millie is dragged from the secret place and imprisoned in Millie's house, so that David and Griffin come to save Millie, and Roland catches both of them. Griffin had a bomb, which he thinks of fitting it in Millie's house so that many Paladins are killed at once. But David was not ready to do this, because if the bomb explodes, Millie's life could also be lost. Hence, now there's a fight between the two, and both of them fight. Griffin kept running from country to country and wanted to get the remote and press its on button so that the waves of the blast takes place on the secret hideout. Through the crystal wall would reach Millie's house, and all the Paladins would be killed, but Millie would die. To save her, David goes too far and wide places, and then David imprisons Griffin in an electric tower and runs away with the remote. To save Millie, David himself goes to her house where the Paladins attack him. They catch him in the magnetic waves, but somehow David jumps so high that he takes the whole house to another place, and Paladins is not able to catch him. Along with David, Millie was also in the water, and when David tries to teleport to escape, the whole house gets teleported into a library. Now David decides to take revenge on Roland and leaves him on a hill from where it was impossible for Roland to come back. After this, David goes to meet his mom, where his cousin's sister is also there. David's mom tells that I left you because I am a Paladin, and when I found out that my son is a jumper, I had two ways, either kill you or I should leave you. That's why I got away from the family, and even now she refuses to accept David. And here David finds out that the Paladins have killed his father too. After meeting his mother, David goes to meet Millie, and both of them teleport and shift to a new place to start a new life. And this is where the story ends.